Right, okie dokie. Right, so Quantum of Solace. So after Casino Royale, I thought that film was amazing. A lot of people thought it was great. I would say there was a good 90% people who really, really loved that film. I remember the reviews and everything. Like people were giving it like 5 stars and stuff. But there was like a lot. There was a few people I remember who said that, oh no, I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, don't get me wrong. The thing about the James Bond franchise is like you're not gonna like every single one of them. But I mean I do kind of like every single one of them. But there's some that are objectively crap, and some that I hardly ever watch. I struggle to watch Diamonds Are Forever sometimes, and some of the Roger Moore films, do get a little bit silly, and they're a little bit sometimes they're a bit cringe. But overall, I am a James Bond fan, and I'm completely open to new things and fresh ideas and new actors taking on the role. That is part of the franchise, really. Like Doctor Who. Eventually, there will be a new Doctor Who. That's just how it is. So anyway, enough about that. Quantum of Solace. So Casino Royale, I loved it. Lots of people loved it. James Bond was back, and they had the right idea of where they're taking this franchise. So with this film, a lot of people say that it's the worst James Bond film ever made. I've heard a lot of people say that. And a lot of people say that this is a big disappointment. And I would agree somewhat that this film is not as good as Casino Royale. But I still like it because I feel like if you're a Casino Royale fan, the first act of that film is all action. And then after that it slows down a little bit, and it becomes this sort of casino, we're playing a poker game sort of thing, and there's a few little action scenes here and there, like, a stair scene, and then the poison scene, and then I think I forgot to mention the car flipping scene as well. Like that was amazing. But anyway, point is, the second half of that film, if you were disappointed that film stopped being sort of so action heavy and became more of like a love story, especially in like the third act, like it kind of becomes this like love story film similar to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then it has that sad ending where she dies. It's sad. This film is obviously a lot shorter, and it is just literally just action scene after action scene after action scene. Like it doesn't let up. And I think that's where I struggle with this film, because it is just non-stop. The beginning part of the film, it just starts off with this car chase, and it's just like, oh shit. It's very much like the Bourne movies, like Bourne Ultimatum. It's like the director, who isn't Martin Campbell this time, it's somebody else. I can't remember who it was, so I'm just gonna put their face somewhere and their name here. But anyway, yeah, it's very much it's like the director watched the Bourne Ultimatum and was just like, let's do that. Let's do that. I want to make a film like that because that's great. It very kind of like shaky cam, very close, very intense. That kind of it's got that kind of style, and it just goes from one action scene to the next. There isn't really like a scene like the scene in Casino Royale with like the shower scene where she's in the shower thinking about what's just happened. It's like, we just killed some people. It's like, I'm affected by this. There isn't really a scene like that where people take a moment just to like process things. It is just non-stop. And then, after the car chase, we get this song by Alicia Keys and the guy from the White Stripes. I mean, it's all right. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just like, for the life of me, I can't really remember how it goes. Like the Casino Royale one is like da 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 da. In my head, I can picture it, but this one, it's like da 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 da. It's I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it's not. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it is just all over the place. It's like, who decided to put Alicia Keys and the guy from White Stripes together and say, yeah, make a song. Yeah, that'd be good. Be a good idea. It's just a bit of a It's a bit of a jumbled mess. And then after that, it goes into more action where Bond is chasing a guy again, and some stuff happens with some harnesses and some things, and he's hanging off a thing, and it's like what is going on here? I don't know. There's a gun on the floor, picks it up, bang. I don't know what's going on, but it feels exciting, I guess. And then after that, it keeps on going. There is a pretty cool like Bourne style fight scene. Bond, like, he goes into a hotel room, and then a dude attacks him with a knife, and then they have a pretty cool like fight scene, but it's really short, and you can see what's going on. It's not too like we're trying to hide it, so the choreography, so we can't see the choreography sort of thing. You can see what's going on, and it is a pretty good scene, and he kills him in a very just like cold sort of way, and that bit's good. But again, it's like after that, it just goes to the next bit. He suddenly gets picked up by Olga Korolenko. Then Olga Korolenko shoots at him, and he's just like, whoa, oh shit. And then after that, he then chases after her with a bike, and then she's on a boat, and then jumps on the boat, and there's a boat chase, and then it goes from that boat chase to then he goes to the opera, and it's just all over the place. And yeah, Felix Leiter is in it again, and David Harbour's in it as well from Stranger Things. That's interesting. This was before Stranger Things, but I just feel like it doesn't really give you doesn't really give you a second to just process things. That I think the pacing is not that good, but not I'm not to say that it's bad. It's not a bad. I don't think it's a bad film per se. I just think in comparison to Casino Royale, it's not as good, because Casino Royale took its time and was a little bit more thoughtful with its pacing. It kind of feels like, because Casino Royale was a hit and it was successful and it was very well reviewed, they had to rush this one out. They were like, all right, shit, we need to make another film right now. And that's what they did. They didn't waste any time. They were just like, right, yeah, 2008, yeah, we're going to release it there. Boom, go for it. It feels like they just didn't really have enough time to make a film. And also as well, like, again, following on from Casino Royale, they didn't want to follow all the same tropes and trends and things like that. They didn't want to be like, okay, well, here's Q and blah, blah, blah. So they were kind of like hindered by time, and also just not really being able to really like indulge themselves in what you can do with a James Bond movie, because in a way they were kind of restricted. In a way, you could look at it that way. But there is a plot, there is a story, and the villain is all right. The villain's pretty good. Dominic Green, played by this French dude, and he's an okay villain. And there's a plot with him taking people's water supply or whatever, and from like in like Bolivia or whatever, like taking poor people's money, like being in control of water, which is actually kind of interesting. It's actually there's an interesting storyline there. It's kind of more of a real world story there. But he doesn't really have a very good henchman in this film. Like, there's a dude who has a very silly hairstyle, very silly haircut, and he might be gay as well. There's a bit where he looks at another henchman, and they look at each other while they're at the opera. There's actually a bit as well in this film, it stuck with me, where they're on the plane, and then he goes, "How much longer?" like that. And then no one kind of like says anything. Oh yeah, 2 minutes, mate. Or oh yeah, we'll be arriving in about 20 minutes. He just goes, "How much longer?" And they all just ignore him. Just rude. But yeah, and then Olga Korolenko and James Bond meet up, and they team up and stuff like that. And what's her name? Arterton? Is it Gemma Arterton? Yeah, Gemma Arterton is in this film, and I really, really like her as an actress. I think she's great. Yeah, she's only in it for like a little bit, and there's a fly. Go away, fly. Go away. Bloody fly. Yeah, so Gemma Arterton. Yeah, she's great. You think, oh, all right, she's a cool character. I think her name was called Strawberry Fields. Strawberry Fields, that's a funny name. Yeah, but then, yeah, she dies. She gets oiled. She gets oiled to death, which is obviously kind of like harkening back to the gold lady. She got covered in gold, but this time she got covered in oil. So, that's an interesting nod. Anyway, I think though again, as I say, like the pacing, Olga Korolenko and Bond don't really have a very kind of romantic kind of thing between them. Like, there's nothing there. Like, there could have been a scene before the third act where they get together and they smash. That would have been nice. But I guess the whole point of this film, though, is like, it's about Bond getting revenge for, he's just lost his woman who he loved. He fell in love with this woman. She died. So, although he does end up shagging Gemma Arterton, though. This film's confusing and it's weird and it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so I'm just gonna drop that. But like, yeah, Olga Korolenko, she's good in it. She's good. But Bond and her don't bang. It is hinted at that she may have had a thing with the main villain guy, and I don't like that in movies where you see like this really hot woman, and then it's kind of said that she's had sex with this little ugly man, and it's like, wouldn't touch you with a barge pole, love. I know where you've been, so maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that's what put Bond off. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, yeah, there's a cool plane scene. The plane scene's quite cool. And Mathis is back. Mathis from the first one. I didn't talk about Mathis from Casino Royale. He was a good character in Casino Royale. They hinted at maybe he was a villain, like maybe he's a double crosser. Maybe he betrayed Bond. But this film kind of like weirdly sort of brings him back, says no, actually he was perfectly innocent. But then they kill him off and Bond chucks him in a garbage bin. Like, uses him as a human shield and then chucks him in the garbage. It's like, what's going on there? But yeah, like the big action scene at the end, I don't think it was that good. Like, Bond just like runs in and says to one guy, "You and I had a mutual friend." Blah, blah, blah. And then he just runs more and shoots a thing and it blows up. And then the building all blows up just immediately. There's fire everywhere. Then Bond has a fight with the main villain, not a henchman, who looks like he could handle himself a little bit more, but the little scrawny villain guy. And he's got an axe and he's like, ah, ah. I think it would have been better if he had a fight with a henchman, like a big henchman guy. So, yeah, it's an all right film. It just doesn't feel as special, as Casino Royale. Casino Royale was like a special film that just came out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting it to be great. Wasn't expecting Daniel Craig to be great. And this film is just kind of like, it capitalizes on it. It takes plot threads from Casino Royale that you kind of thought were all wrapped up in that movie, but then it just continues it on. Because, like, they keep Mr. White, and I like Mr. White. I like Mr. White as a character. He's pretty cool. But, like, they didn't really need to bring him back. They could have just started off the film completely fresh, new thing. Like, Skyfall completely ignores this film. You could go from Casino Royale and just ignore Quantum and then just go straight to Skyfall. And the whole Vesper, the reason why she betrayed Bond and why she betrayed everyone is because obviously, like, she was being coerced by the bad guys, because they invented this guy called Quantum who his whole thing is to like infiltrate women who work in government. So like at the end of the film, he's kind of like, he's found a new mark or a new target, who's this Canadian woman. Like she's not like a secret agent, but she works in the intelligence. He obviously stops him at the end. So they kind of like make that a thing. Whereas in Casino Royale, you just kind of thought, well, he's just a boyfriend, and they were holding him hostage. But with this film, they kind of made it like, actually, he's a spy, he's an agent, and he was ordered to go and seduce Vesper and control, sort of like have feelings for him, and then he pretends to then be taken hostage by the bad guys. It's all very confusing, but whatever. Apparently, though, there was a deleted scene with Mr. White that was supposed to be in this film where he pops up at the end, and then I think it was meant to then just sort of cut to black like a cliffhanger. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. And actually, talking about Mr. White, he does pop up again in Spectre, and I like what they did with him as the character. They could have made him Blofeld. He could have been Blofeld. Anyway, I am going to stop talking about this film now. I like it. It's got some good action scenes. It's a good action film. But I think the action scenes were much better in Casino Royale, and just generally, just the whole storyline and everything was better in Casino Royale. This film does have some things that Casino Royale didn't have. Like, for instance, if you found Casino Royale boring, this one's a little bit more action-packed and a little bit more non-stop, you know. It's lacking substance, but there is a sort of a plot there about water supply, you know, people being in control of water, but there's no substance, and it's just all action. The action could be better, but it's okay. It's all right. Anyway, it tries to be a little bit different at times as well, but then sometimes it does kind of like, there's a bloody fly in here, and it's really annoying me. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill that fly. Die. Okay. Fly. I can't kill the fly. Anyway, I'm gonna go now, and yeah. So Quantum of Solace, not my favorite, but I don't hate it. It's just, it's a bit of a step down from the last one. Whatever. Anyway, thank you for watching. Goodbye.